Hey there, hi there, ho there. Oh, that's from an old thing. Kevin Moffat doing another Manna Nugget, uh, quick teachings on things that have come to me over the years, and I felt it was time to be releasing them. So I hope you're blessed by this. We've got a running slideshow there of images. I paint at the core of what I do. I paint spontaneously in pastels uh, at conferences during worship times, and just have loads of fun doing that. It's the dearest thing to my heart, besides being married and the Lord. Uh, Doing that kind of worship is just what gives me life. It really, really does. And most recently, in the past maybe 8 months, I think, he's allowed me to do, because I've been talking to him about this for a long time. It's been about 30 years that I've been painting during worship, and whenever I've tried to do it at home in studio, just yeah, doesn't work. But lately, I've been able to do what's behind my head there. That's one of the latest ones, acrylic flow painting. And it is an extreme amount of fun. So I love doing that, and it's very spontaneous, it's very fast, and you just wait and watch and see what happens with it. So that one I think is called Celestial Kairos. So a lot of them either tend to be very water-like, ocean, water, coastline kind of things, or they just go right to the stars, to the heavenlies. And uh, I'm looking for gaseous anomalies, if you can catch a hold of that. So I have a new website going up very soon now. It's manaart.com. And I also have a website that's manasilks.com. Manaart.com is all the art, which is the acrylic flow painting and the worship art, and there's also flags and banners on there. And there'd be several avenues of different things going on there, and also invitations for teaching times and that kind of thing. And I'm perfectly willing to do Zoom teaching times, and it seems to be the way to go in this day because of the things that are going on in the world. So, but I've been encouraged to start doing these teachings on YouTube, and I hope they really bless you. And if it does bless you, I wish you would consider going to Patreon.com, another website, which is a way to you're able to get behind me and help me do what I do. And there are many avenues of helping finance what I do. And besides going to the Manna Art site and purchasing prints or originals or the silk scarves, it all helps me pay the bills, if you will, and be able to function and come out and teach and do all those things. So I would ask you to consider going to patreon.com as well and do a search for Kevin Moffat, and it'll give you some options there to get behind me. So this Manna Nugget is titled Atmosphere. And I'm asking you, can you imagine how many times, like when I get a chance to teach or I'm painting, I get people approach me. It's like, first thing they say is, I can't do stick figures. I'm not able to function that way. Well, even spirit-filled people are saying that to me, and it causes me to immediately look towards the King, like, what do I do with this, Lord? Because as a matter of fact, it's not about what you cannot do. It's really about what you can do. We've all been designed to respond creatively. It's just part of our DNA. It's part of our makeup. It's in there. Because we have, especially because we have a relationship with Christ, we have a relationship with creativity. It's up to us to comprehend the avenues that we are designed to respond, how we're designed to respond creatively. We need to find out what that is. It doesn't have to be in an art fashion. It can be a music fashion. It can be a writing fashion. But even those that are the most demonstrative, considered the most creative ways to respond, even if you're a CEO of a company, and no negativity to that, I'm just kidding, you have to be creative in what you do and how you lead your company and how you teach and cause inspiration in your employees. There's a creative response there. We must seek the wisdom of our Creator to come to an understanding of just what our individual roles are. We do have that responsibility. I enrolled in the master's degree program in 1990, little pun there, after having a dramatic encounter with the head of admissions. Oswald Chambers wrote in 424, one life wholly devoted to God is of more value to God than 100 lives simply awakened by His Spirit. Two core issues for the church. The first one is to love. That's always an ongoing issue. And the second is atmosphere, which we are all responsible for, both around us and inside of us. Let's talk about atmosphere. Bezalel, I love this guy because there's a lot to teach from there, in Exodus 31:1, is from the tribe of Judah. Judah means praise. It's all about praise. He was the first to be filled with God's Spirit. Don't be confused. Yeah, Moses was in there, but Moses had a completely unique relationship with God unto himself. Specifically, as is verbalized in the text, Bezalel was the first to be infilled and especially gifted with wisdom and understanding and knowledge to devise new works and all manners of workmanship. Along with Aholiab, they had hearts that were wise and gifted with wisdom, so that they would be able to make all that God had commanded. They were also gifted to teach others to be able to accomplish all of the tasks set before them. Moses had been given the overall plan, the big picture, if you will. Bezalel was given the ability to train others to make everything that God wanted in his dwelling place. That took a particularly deep relationship with God. Don't you think? It was Bezalel's job to build a place of habitation for Yahweh, to dwell in here on earth closer to man. This dwelling would have the atmosphere that God would be comfortable in. You know, it's just like us when we move into a place, into a house, an apartment, condo, whatever that is. We bring along the things that we like, that we feel comfortable with, and the reminders of life and those things. The things that give us most life is what we put in around us. Well, that's what God wanted in the first temple. He wanted those things, the decorations that he would be comfortable with. This dwelling would have an atmosphere that God would be comfortable in. All the decorations, every square inch of the temple was inspired by God. All of the colors and imagery, statues and ornaments, even the cutlery, candlestands and oil lamps were all selected by God. This is the Old Testament example of God's desire to be a part of man's lives. Atmosphere. My job as a creative person is to create an atmosphere for His presence. When I'm in a conference and I'm asked to come and do paint during worship, I'm usually asked as well. My friends will ask me to come and hang banners and put up artwork. This is all to create an atmosphere that makes it easier for God to move in that place. And there's all kinds of stories I could tell about developing this and helping to cause these things happen as part of my responsibility. But just suffice it to say now, I'm decorating the inner temple, a comfort spot for God to dwell in. And when I'm painting, I'm doing likely the same thing. These are the images that are on His heart is what I'm after. Not the images we think are good, but the images that are on His heart at that given moment. I'm looking to create an ark for His habitation, if you will. Not only during the times of worship, but even more importantly, within me, if I can, to help you do the same. I'm looking to teach you how that works, impart that to you. It's not, you don't have to do it just through art, but, like the first time I did it, you can't imagine. There was 400 people in the meeting, and they were all doing different things creatively. God caused them to be inspired to move in the things of creativity. So it wasn't like one thing or another. It was all kinds of expressions going on. My job as a visual psalmist is not only to create a heavenly responsive image that speaks His heart in that moment, and hopefully a vision for the days to come, but it also gives an avenue for expression in our hearts. So when our hearts get impacted like that, in those moments, we usually have to do something with it. It has to find its way out. So I need to ask you, how's your place of habitation? What kind of art do you have hanging in that inner place? Have you ever been to a meeting where a speaker has a psalmist playing music while they're preaching and teaching? It's really kind of a cool thing. Most of us that aren't used to it think it's a little distracting at first, but when you get a moment, give it a chance to develop. I feel like I'm a talking head here, but when we give it a chance to develop, our spirits latch onto it. One thing that's going on there is that an atmosphere is being developed for His presence. Another thing that's going on is that at any given moment, the Lord can jump on a note and a word that He wants to delivered, and can go deep into your heart with it. He can ride that note and go right by the strongholds that you've helped to build. You're part of those strongholds. Just be aware of that. The same is true for color. But especially for color, it will bypass any stronghold before you even know what's going on. We really haven't tapped into this enough yet as a church. We need to be about the business of breaking down strongholds. That's part of our job. Color is one of the ways that God can speak to our spirits and break those strongholds, break those barriers. There's something that goes on. The enemy has helped develop the strongholds to the word being preached. And it's just something that's gone, sometimes we just can't hear it correctly. So God's using color to do what he hopes for you, that will break that stronghold, that barrier, so you can hear it or you can experience it in a whole different manner that you couldn't have done before without it. Likewise, as a visual artist, visual psalmist, if you will, the Lord can write on the color and or speak through the image and go right by any strongholds that you may have, right through the eye gate. That's a whole nother conversation. So at some point, I hope to express that a little bit more fully, but it's an eye gate is something we really need to be aware of. The things that we're looking at, the things that we're beholding, and how these things are caused, and how we protect our eye gates. As an artist, I have to continuously protect my eye gates from the things that I'm seeing and cleansing and doing those things. So when I am seeing, I'm seeing what he wants me to see. So that's that nugget. It's a quick nugget, but it's a good nugget. And I hope you can go back and because there's so many things that I just said in these things that I hope that blesses you. And one, you can go to my website and check out the things that are there, and if it's blessing you, also that you might purchase something. And also, even here on YouTube, if you would subscribe to my channel, that would bless me. And as I put more and more things on here, more nuggets on here, it would automatically identify that to you that I'm doing that, so you can check out the next one. So also go to patreon.com and search for Kevin Moffitt and help me do what I do. So bless you big, and I will see you again on the next one. Come on back.